There's been water shortages and electricity outages in Johannesburg South since yesterday. JHB Water sent a notice to residents about unplanned cuts heading into Sunday, saying this is due to damaged infrastructure and low water levels in reservoirs. The city has since put out drums and tankers in strategic points in the area. Faizel Patel, a resident from Lenasia South, joins us now to tell us about the situation on the ground. Faizel, a pleasure to have you on the program this afternoon. What has been the update overnight?
Well, there's a number of issues that Lenasia South residents are facing. As you rightly mentioned, it is the water issue. They did send out a notice, and I seen JHB Water's Twitter handle saying that there were two major pipe bursts in the suburb, which is affecting the residents of Lenasia South. Now, I must be specifically clear, it's the Extension 4 area, and that's quite a distance from where I stay, about 2 kilometers away. So they haven't had water since yesterday and probably the day before. That's the one issue. And then the other issue obviously has been the electricity issue, which they did send out a notice as well saying that there will be no electricity from around 8 a.m. this morning until about 4 p.m. this afternoon. That's the two. And then the third issue obviously has been the fiber issue, the open serve issue, where including myself haven't had any connectivity since around yesterday 9 a.m. So these are the issues that are currently plaguing the suburb in Lenasia South.
Now, we are in a heat wave of sorts. How have residents been coping since Friday night due to these water outages?
Well, as you mentioned, there are trucks that are coming and assisting the residents with water. But you mentioned the heat wave, and this has been an ongoing problem in a sense that when you have the heat wave, there's an abundance of usage of water in Lenasia South. And if there is no electricity, this is exacerbated because the water cannot be pumped to the reservoir quick enough to be distributed to the residents. And because there's no electricity today, that obviously is a recurring problem. But these water tankers obviously stay at a certain park in a certain area and do not go distribute from from extension to extension. So residents, queue up there and fill up their buckets and fill up all their containers. But there's more water that you need, whether it's ablution or whether it's cooking and making tea and coffee. So residents have been coping that way, and with a heat wave, it just doesn't make it that much easier. There is a mosque in our area where I live, and they've got a Zozo tank, and we're trying to get water from that area, and even some of the other mosques also have Zozo tanks, so they obviously cater for that particular extension where residents can get some water.
So now the city has already mentioned that they've placed these tanks in strategic areas. But in your own observation, do you think there's an adequate supply of water to the affected areas?
No, in my opinion, I don't think there is enough supply. Considering that a lot of people, if you look at the social media accounts, and I've been keeping tabs on that because a lot of people know that I'm a journalist and live in Lenasia South. So as a resident, I'm affected, and as a journalist, I have an obligation to bring it up with the relevant authorities, including the city power with electricity and the JHB Water as far as the water is concerned. And, there's so much you can address. My timeline is flooded with these complaints. But I haven't seen, in our area specifically, I haven't seen, and that's the Extension 2 area of Lenasia South, which is, I wouldn't say the economic hub of the area, but the most busiest area of it because the shopping centers and the petrol garages which are just around the corner. But I haven't seen any visible water tankers that side. It would obviously cater more along for the Extension 4 area. They've been really suffering. The Extension 4 area, that's towards the Golden Highway in that particular area. So I haven't been on that side, but I assume that there are strategic tankers in place. But given the quantity that residents normally use on a daily basis, I would possibly think that this is not sufficient.
So the city's water authority has cited damaged infrastructure and low levels at the regional reservoirs. But has there been any further update been provided to community members, or rather a timeline been given as to when these issues are going to be resolved?
As far as the water is concerned, they basically said that there were two major pipe bursts in that particular area. These pipe bursts can take quite a while. It is a Sunday, we need to understand that. So they did say that they are working on the infrastructure and to repair that pipe, but there haven't been no estimated time of restoration of services. And if that pipe bursts are not fixed, the water obviously cannot be pumped to the reservoir. And given that there's no electricity at the moment, obviously that will exacerbate the problem as well. But no further updates. I've just checked with the city, the Johannesburg Water. They haven't put anything on their social media website. I think, the logical thing would be to get the Joburg Water spokesperson to actually give us an update and see what the current situation is.
That's Faizel Patel, a journalist and resident of Lenasia, as the area faces water shortages as the city officials cite damaged infrastructure as well as low levels of water in their reservoirs.